Hi guys! How's everybody doing? Alright. So let me know if you can hear me and see me okay, guys. Oh, I see some hearts.
Is it going to be on yours?
It'll be on the Simi Cakes page. I think Mom's sharing it to mine too. Hey Carol, hey Tracy. How are you guys doing today? Happy Saturday. I think it's Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday. Hey Monica. Okay, great. Make sure to write where you guys are watching from. It's always fun to get to know where everybody is in the world who's watching in the comments. And we'll wait just a couple minutes before we get started. Alright. I have my iPad set up down here too, so I'll be able to see the comments once I turn my phone down. That way, if you guys have any questions, you can just let me know. Hey Debbie. Hi Becky. Lynette's here. Hi Lynette. Hey Adam. Alright, Priscilla from Illinois. Illinois. I was reading the other part of that when I said that. Alright. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be making the shoe today. I'm super excited for this demo. I have the piece right here. I can show you while we're waiting for everybody to jump on. So you can see our monarch butterfly there. We have our new black glitter Isomalt. Hey Tammy. Alright, super pretty stained glass effect. Brooke Taylor says, delivering a cake, so I'll be in and out. But she needs to know the new color. You're gonna have to wait a little while, but I promise to post about it afterwards because I'm gonna show you guys at the end. So if you miss it, I promise I'll post about it after the demo is over. Hey Taisha, hey Kelly.
We'll save Brooke 50 bags.
Dad says we'll save Brooke 50 bags. All right. Hi Barbie. Hey Deborah, good evening.
Hi Carol.
Alright, Carol says hello Mike. Alright, so we'll get started here in just a second. What's up? Almost there. Okay, Mom's just sharing to everywhere for me. I think you guys are going to like the new color. There was a couple guesses that were right, but I love seeing what you guys were thinking. It is a good fall color, which is going to be awesome. And we're going to use it for our next play date, as well as maybe for our next workshop. I'm still working on the details of that. Thank you, Monica. Hey, Patricia. Yeah, make sure to share, guys. Share to your page, to any groups that you're a part of, any cake or cookie groups. Any kind of sweets groups. Hey Kathy from Webb City, Missouri. Alright, so we'll get started here in just a second. Alright, before we get started, I just wanted to show you guys. Got our guardian angel here in the studio with us today. I love this picture from when we were filming Cake Flicks, I think in 2020. I was up at the studio. I just wanted to say a really huge thank you to everybody who has shown us love and support. The last couple weeks have been rough, I know for you guys too, but thank you for all of that love and support, not only to us and to Scott, but to each other too. I'm very thankful to be part of such a kind and supportive community. So
much so. We love you guys so much.
Very thankful for that. And yeah, I also wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been supporting the GoFundMe that was set up for Scott. Yeah, thank you guys very, very much to everybody who's donated. If you haven't or you haven't seen the GoFundMe, I do encourage you guys to support it. It was set up for Scott Ewing, who of course was Nicholas's partner in life and business, and so of course, as you guys can imagine, he has been going through a lot the past few weeks, and He
Yeah.
also, it's really, really important to him as well as everyone, around here that Nicholas's legacy is really protected, and so the fund was set up. Yeah, and then it goes on. So he is just kind of course, he hasn't been able to work, the past few weeks, and has had a lot of expenses. So we just really want to support him right now and make sure that, he is set up because he really does want to continue on in this industry. It is really an incredible community that he really wants to be a part of. Yeah, we want to make sure that he is supported and that he is set up for success as he continues on Nicholas's legacy. So,
and we're going to do what we can to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. So remember to support him, whether if you can't support the GoFundMe, buy things from their store, and everything, just anything that we can do to support him. We'll have more info on some things that we're going to be doing with them, so make sure to check out the GoFundMe. The info is on my page too, on my Facebook page. You. Yeah, you can message me if you have any questions about that as well.
Patricia just put the link up.
Thank you, Patricia. Yeah, the link is there. You can find it on my page too later if you go back and check it out. I shared it a couple posts ago, so make sure to check that out, and thank you so much to everybody who has supported so far. It's absolutely incredible, and Scott is very, very grateful. All right, hey Evelyn. Just gonna go through the comments here. All right. Alright, so yeah, we're going to be making the shoe today. I'm super excited to be sharing my love of sugar art with everybody and creating this shoe. This is a Monarch butterfly themed shoe or inspired shoe using our cello sheets, our transfer sheets, and our new black glitter Isomalt, which I'm really excited about. I really, really love the black glitter. It's just so, so pretty and sparkly. Alright, awesome. Bev's sharing links in all her tutorials. That's awesome. Jessian says, we're very grateful to Scott. We are very grateful to Scott. Hey, Ash from Portland, Oregon. All right. So we will go ahead and get started. Remember, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can let me know in the comments. And Mom and Dad are both here too, so they will be able to shout out any questions that I miss. But I do have it set up in front of me on my iPad. So if you guys are asking any questions throughout the demo, I will be able to answer them. Also, remember, I did post about this. If you saw it, I will be announcing our new Isomalt color that's going to be coming out at the end of this demo, and the projects that we're going to do with it for next month's live, which I am so excited about, and I think you guys are going to love. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tilt my camera down, and we will get everything all positioned and ready to go, and then we will get started. While we're readjusting, let me know if you guys are going to be playing along today, if you're going to be creating along with me, or if you are going to be watching and creating later. Let me just make sure this is all in the right spot here. Alright, so tilted a little too far there, guys. Let's see if that's better. Alright, I have a little bit of lag on my camera here, so I'm just gonna make sure. I think that's better. All right, I'm gonna flip my mat around so you guys can see it the right way up. All right, how does that look, guys? What do you think? Let me know if you can see everything all right. You may hear a little bit of thunder. Of course, it always starts to storm right before I do a live, so if anything happens and I get popped off the internet, I will come right back on, so just keep refreshing. Alright, so just checking out the comments. Okay, good. I'm seeing some hearts. That's good. Carol's watching create later.
Ash too.
Ash too. Anne's creating later as well. Becky's going to create along. Awesome. Fantastic. Zoe's going to create later too. Make sure to tag me, guys. I know I always say this in my lives, but it really, really just makes me so happy to see the techniques that you guys use from, classes and tutorials and demos and stuff that I do. So definitely always, always tag us because I love seeing your work and I love sharing it too. All right. Cool. Evelyn's going to watch and create later. Fantastic. So We will go ahead and get started now. So as you guys know, we are using our Simi Isomalt today. Simi Isomalt is pre-cooked, ready to use, so all you have to do is melt it down. So just 30 seconds and then 15-second intervals in the microwave. Isomalt's just a sugar-free hard candy, so all you have to do is melt it and you are ready to go. There's no temperatures, no recipes. It's all completely edible. You can color it, you can flavor it with oil-based flavorings, you can paint on it. There's lots and lots of things that you can do with your Isomalt, and we're going to go over a lot today. We are going to be using the Isomalt by itself. We're going to be casting into a mold. We're also going to be kind of doing an in-between pulling and casting technique of forming pieces that have been poured. So we're going to unmold things a little early and bend them to shapes. We're also going to be using our edible sheets today. We're using cello and transfer sheets, so I'll talk about each and the differences and when to use what. So we got a lot to pack in today, so we will go ahead and jump right into it. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know. And this will be available for replay later, both here and on my YouTube channel. So if you have to go off, just know that you can go ahead and go back and watch it at any time. All right. Hey, Mitchie. All right.
In a few weeks.
Yeah, just a few weeks away, so we'll be in Vegas at IBIE. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys there too. Okay, so we are going to be creating the different elements of the shoe, kind of going back and forth between pieces, because of course some pieces need to cool, and some pieces have to, you know, kind of set up a certain amount in between, so we're just going to kind of be jumping back and forth. The thing that you're going to need to make first is going to be the heel. So I'll show you guys again on the finished piece. I wanted this to really be kind of a statement piece on the back here of having the butterfly and the heel all in that monarch theme. There are a lot of really beautiful real shoes that are butterfly inspired. This is just kind of my take on it, but I really liked that the heel was kind of the focal point, because to me the heel is kind of the most dramatic part of a you know, stiletto style heel or shoe. So I really wanted that to have that sort of stained glass look. So we are going to be creating that heel part first. No matter what kind of shoe that you do always want to create the heel first and have it cooled before you continue on to making your pieces, because if the heel is not cool and your sole that we're going to be making cools faster, which it will if you were to pour these at the same time, the sole, if you pour them at the same time, is going to be cooler sooner than the heel, so it's just not going to all work out timing wise. So always make your heels in advance, whether it's just, you know, half an hour in advance, or you make them, you know, the day before and then use them. You always want to make those first. But what we're going to be doing for this whole shoe is we're going to be using the 3-piece shoe kit that we have. So it comes with the heel mold, it comes with the sculpture mat for the shoe itself, and it also comes with a heel or a shoe former. So these are all have been designed by us and sized to fit together. So that is one advantage of the kit, is that we know that each individual piece is going to fit together. It is slightly smaller than a life-size shoe, but we did that because we wanted it to fit as a cake topper, and of course a big life-size shoe is not always going to be feasible to put on top of a cake, you know, as a topper, so we did do it a little smaller than a real shoe.
Beverly's wondering, can we get the yellow shoe molds in the UK anywhere?
Yes, you can. So we work with Dawn Butler from Dinky Doodle, and she is going to, or she carries our products on her website. So she has all of the products there. You can email them to special order. So basically, she orders about once a month or so. She brings in whatever you guys want. So you can contact them directly at Dinky Doodle on their website and their email, and you will be able to just tell them kind of what you wanted from our selection, and they will special order it in for you. So they do that about once a month to bring in any specialized tools, and they carry the Isomalt and things like that as well.
And vice versa, we carry
Yes.
the same way, Dinky Doodle, and Dawn believes probably about another 10 days, and the pens are going to be back in stock at Dinky Doodle.
Perfect. Yeah, because we do the same thing. Like Mom said, we bring in any of her products that you guys here in the U.S. want to order, so you can order those through us as well if you see anything on her website. All right. Perfect. So we are going to be using our clear Isomalt, which I did just melt in the microwave, and we're going to be using our cello sheet as well. So our clear Isomalt, first off, we melted that, like I said, 30 seconds, and then 15-second intervals from the tiles, so it was already tempered, ready to use. So we just melted it down. Now, when it's melted, you do want to make sure that you bring it to a boil, especially something stained glass like this. You want to bring all the air out. So I never stir it or mix it when it's in those intervals in the microwave. You just want to make sure that you're letting it do its thing, you're bringing it to a boil, and then you let it settle. So you can see now it is liquid, but it's not actively boiling and bubbling. That's really important because if it's boiling and bubbling, you're going to pour all those pieces and those bubbles into your finished piece. So I bring it to a boil, but then I let it settle and cool for a couple minutes at room temperature until it stops boiling. All right, and then we are going to be using our cello sheets for this piece today. So you can see I pre-made a heel, so I just used a little bit earlier. I'm going to cut that piece off there. But this is our cello sheets. You guys, if you did get the accessory kit for this project, which are still available as well after this demo is done, if you're watching later, you will get a sample of the cello sheet design as well as a sample of the butterfly transfer sheet. So let's focus on the cello sheets first. You can tell it's a cello sheet, not just because of the label, but also because it's totally clear. Okay, so it's completely transparent, but it is edible. So it's on a plastic backing right now. This is a product from Icing Images, and I use these all the time. We sell our pre-printed designs on our website, including this one that I drew. So you can have those kind of custom designs that go along with a lot of my projects. And so basically the cello sheets are a really, really incredible tool. They're very unique to other kinds of edible paper because they are completely transparent. So you get those really pretty stained glass effects, which of course goes perfectly with Isomalt. Now, there are some tips and tricks. I have a lot of videos and things using the cello sheets. You can see those, and also when you get the full-size cellos and things, there is a handout that has a lot of the tricks, but just kind of a little crash course on them. Because they are so unique, they do have a couple little quirks that you have to get used to, just like with any edible medium. They're very sensitive to climate and temperature. So one thing that you want to make sure is that you are keeping these in a sealed container before or any time in between using them. Okay, so you always keep them sealed. I just keep mine in a plastic like Ziploc bag kind of thing, or sometimes I wrap them in plastic wrap first and then keep them in the Ziploc, just to have an extra barrier of seal, and that will just make sure that they don't curl, because they can curl a little bit from lack of humidity or from extra humidity. So just kind of by keeping them in a neutral container, it will help, and as long as you just seal the extra pieces in between using them, you won't have any problem. If you do notice that they're curling a little bit, if you're in a more dry climate, what you can actually do is up the humidity in your area. So if you mist a little bit of water around, not on the paper itself, because then it could bleed the ink or make it sticky, but just in the kind of air around the sheet, it can help to just add a little bit of moisture to the room. Or of course, if you have a humidifier, a lot of people do for working on cakes and things if you are in a really dry climate. So that will definitely help with the sheets. But even when I've traveled to places that have been a lot more dry, I find as long as I store the excess pieces in plastic and I use the pieces I take out right away, I really don't have any problem with them. So that's my main tip, is just keeping them sealed. Okay, and also another thing is going to be not using the entire sheet, because when you get a whole sheet, it's 8.5 by 11 about, so you don't want to peel the entire sheet off the backing, you want to do it in small sections. So that's what we're going to do for this piece. You can use any part of the design that you want to. I'm going to use this one over here, because it is see-through, just kind of hover it over your mold to figure out where you want that piece to be. You can cut it up into pieces first, but it's really easy to just peel it off the backing. Now, if you're not sure which side is the top and which side is the plastic, or so which side is the sheet and which side is the plastic, there is an easy way to figure that out. Basically, you want to wet one of the corners and see if it gets sticky. Of course, the plastic side is not going to get sticky because it's just plastic, but the paper side will get a little bit tacky from, of course, the sugar. So if you just take like a little bit of water on your finger and tap it over the surface, you will be able to tell if it is the front or not. Okay, so I already figured out that this side is the part that is sticky, so that's going to be the top. What we're going to do is we're not going to cut an exact shape because it's a lot easier to do that after. I'm just going to kind of get an idea of how big of a piece that we're going to need. And I'm going to take an X-Acto, and you want to score the top, okay? So I'm just going to, maybe don't do this on your silicone mat if you're worried about cutting it. I'm just going to be careful with my pressure here so I don't cut through. But I just scored pretty firm. You don't want to cut the backing, you just want to score the top. And then it'll form almost like a sticker sheet, how it has the actual piece that you want to peel up. Just comes off of the backing like that. Okay, so this is the actual paper. It's very similar to like a vinyl decal, and there's lots of things that you can do with this. You can use these on their own, but of course they do work really well with Isomalt, so that's what we're going to be doing. So I would put that extra piece in a sealed container. I don't have to quite as quickly here usually because it is so humid outside, so I can have a couple minutes before I put them away, but I do recommend putting them away right away, especially if it's drier where you are. All right, and now it doesn't matter which side you put against the Isomalt, whether it's the side that was printed on or side that's not. Okay, but I am just going to go ahead and fill up my heel mold now. This got a little bit thick just while I was talking, so let's pop this back in the microwave for about 15 or 20 seconds. And I'll just make sure this is going to fit. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the back of the heel, and I really like that effect because it's going to look like it has, when you look at it straight through, you're going to see that design, but when you look at it from the side, it looks almost like clear glass. So it has a really cool sort of three-dimensional, you know, sort of effect on the piece that I really think is neat. I didn't bring this back to a full boil, I just rewarmed it so it was a little bit more pourable. Okay, so there's still no bubbles. There may be some just sitting on the top or attached to the bowl. Those are okay. You just don't want any actively boiling and bubbling when you pour this. Remember, Isomalt is very hot, so wear your gloves while you're working with it because it's around 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 150 degrees Celsius. Now, when I filled this, I filled it very, very full, and the reason for that is if it's too low, the paper is not going to touch it, right? When you set the paper on top, it won't be able to reach. So I almost got it so that the surface tension is built up a little bit, and that way when I lay the paper on, it'll touch the entire heel. Now, if you have any bubbles, any kind of stray bubbles that rise to the top, really quick what I like to do is just torch over the surface to pop them, and it also just reliquefies that surface a little bit and helps it to be nice and hot so that we can immediately lay our cello sheet right on. Okay, don't use your finger to tap it down, use a silicone tool or a toothpick, just not the pointy side, just kind of put it on its side like I'm doing with this. And I'm just kind of tracing very lightly. I don't really want any excess to squish out the top. I just want to make sure it's touching in as many spots as I can over the back of the heel. Just like that. Okay, so all I did was just lay it on top, and then we will trim the excess after it is cool. All right. Has any questions so far? Just checking out the comments here.
So far, so good.
All right, cool. Okay, this is going to take a little while to cool, so probably at least 20 minutes or so. For you guys who are following along, I would recommend you to just take that time to watch the rest of the demo so that way you kind of have an idea of where you're going for the next steps. So just watch the rest of the demo, and then when it's cool, you can start taking it out and unmolding it like I'm going to show you in a minute. But for now, just kind of hang tight and wait for that to cool. And I will continue making pieces for us. Okay, so we're going to put that off to the side. I do have one made, but I'm going to actually start pouring the mat next so that gets cooling, because again, just for timing wise, I tried to plan it so that we can kind of jump around from step to step. But of course, if you guys are making this later or even now, you can still follow what I'm doing. All right, but again, just wait for this step until your heel is cool if you don't have one pre-made. All right, so we're gonna pop the black glitter in the microwave. So 1 second. I preheated them a little bit, but I'm just going to put it in for about 30 to 40 seconds to get it reanimated. So this is the mat section of the sculpture mat. So as you can see, it has lots of different strap options. You are welcome to make this whatever you like. You know, if you want to customize it with more like the wide straps, the really big, almost closed toe, but it still has like the peekaboo toe at the front. I think that's what they call it. But I'm going to be doing the sole as well as the back half crescent for the back of the heel and the thinner straps for mine, just because I didn't want to take away too much from the monarch patterns on the back.
If I ask, so if excess spills over, can she cut it off after it hardens, even with that cello?
Once you trim the excess of the cello, you can torch a little bit on the Isomalt side, and I can kind of show you that once I clean mine up, but you should be able to smooth it and kind of cut it away. It's a little bit harder, so I would practice maybe pouring the heel a couple times before you add the paper if you want to kind of build your confidence with how much to pour it, just because you can't remelt the Isomalt with the paper on it, so it's kind of a one-shot and done situation. Alright, So I just brought my black glitter to a boil, and while we let that settle, I wanted to go over one thing that's really important with these mats. You may, if you got this kit, we have this again in the accessory kit, but we also have it on its own. You may have gotten a little insert in here. You should have gotten a little insert, a Simi sculpture mat quick tip. Basically what this says is silicone, it breathes, okay? It has pores just like skin, so from heat it can open up, and then as it cools it closes back down. You may have heard me talk about this with pulling and things. It's the same idea. Basically, if you pour the mat a little bit too hot, so if the Isomalt is too hot to begin with, or maybe you got a really hot spot in the microwave, because microwaves are impossible to be completely even, you might have a hot spot in your Isomalt. What can happen is if you get a stuck spot, it's just because the Isomalt was a little bit too hot in that spot, and it actually might stick to the mat. Normally silicone peels off really easily with Isomalt so that you don't have to grease it or powder it, but sometimes you get one little stuck spot. The important part is not to pull on it. So if the whole piece is releasing except one little area, that usually means it's a stuck spot. All you have to do is just rinse it under some water, okay? I will toss that piece of Isomalt and just make a new one, but it will release seamlessly from the mat rather than trying to yank it off when you haven't put any water on yet. It could rip the mat, okay? If that happens, I mean, a lot of times you can hide like a little indent or a little like line or something that was from the mat getting marred, but you really want to avoid that, of course. So just put a little bit of water on it and then make it dry it off and make a new piece if that happens. But generally, as long as you let the Isomalt settle really well, the mat is cool to begin with, so it's not super duper hot in the areas that you want to pour it from, maybe making some over and over. Just let it cool off in between and you shouldn't have too much of a problem. All right, so we're gonna pour just the sole first, because for my design, I'm gonna be using some of the smaller pieces and they cool really quickly. So if the sole takes longer than the straps, we need the sole first, right? We need to form the sole before we can add the straps. So I just wanna form and pour and cool the sole first before we add those straps on. So I'm going to pour that just enough to cover the bottom. Okay, we have nice thick lines on our sculpture mats that help you stay in the lines, but if you do accidentally pour over or spill over the edges, it creates a really nice big score mark that a lot of times you can just snap off or you can cut off with scissors afterwards when it's warm. I love, love, love this black glitter. I don't know if you can see it from down there, but I will hold it up once it's cool so you guys can see just the shine on that glitter. All right, again, I'm going to pop any surface bubbles that we have, and then we're going to leave this. Now, of course, we don't want a flat shoe for this project. It would be really cute if you wanted to do flats or sandals or flip-flops, you can do that, but we want a high heel, right? So we're going to let this cool just enough so that it can be released from the mat, but still is warm enough that it is bendable, and we can rewarm it a little bit if needed. So instead of letting this cool for maybe 10 to 12 minutes, which would cool it completely, we're going to take this out around like 5 to 7 minutes. So we're just going to set that off to the side. Carol says the black glitter is stunning. I know, it's definitely, I think, my favorite of the new glitter colors that Alex has been coming up with. I love the pink and the blue too, but that black is just so pretty, especially for Halloween coming up. All right.
I could see it for Christmas too and New Year's.
Definitely. Oh, New Year's, it would be so, so pretty, especially for like a Gatsby Roaring 20s theme. Yeah. I love that with the 2020s now. I feel like that's my favorite. All right, so while that's cooling, I wanted to show you guys cleaning up the heels, because I have one already made. So all I did was I unmolded a previous heel that I poured this morning, okay? That's the only thing I did, is I just flexed the mold and peeled it out. So you can see that I have the heel poured here. I have the excess paper still stuck to the back, and I also have some bubbles on the surface of the piece. You can kind of see those. I can see them in my iPad there. It's not super crystal clear, and again, that's because silicone breathes. So we're gonna get rid of those, and we're gonna get rid of the excess paper. You can do this two ways. You can either cut it with scissors, or you can use your X-Acto and just run the edge of the X-Acto along it. I find the X-Acto easier if you have a really odd shape, but because this is pretty straight, it's easy to use the scissors. Just make sure, because you might get some little scraps here and there. So maybe do it over the trash or over a spot you can clean up easy. Look how easy that was. Okay, no cutting out beforehand to the exact shape. You don't need any special tools. You could do that if it's easier for you, but I think that this is faster and quicker, in my opinion. Okay, now we're gonna clear away those little bubbles on the surface. So I can't do this while I hold it up, unfortunately, because I don't want a torch in my hand, but I'm gonna set it down, and I'll do half so you can see the difference. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in light layers. You can build this up instead of doing it all at once, but I'm just gonna torch away the surface. Okay, you can already see, I can see on the camera as the lag is catching up, that it's getting brighter and more reflective in that area that I just torched. That's what we want. Make sure to do the top as well. This one we're putting black over it so you don't see it as much, but it does help when you're doing a transparent shoe.
So if you had the spill, this is like when you took off the cello sheet, you could trim at the same time?
Yes, so what I would do is I would take off as much of the cello sheet as I could at that point. So let's say you had a spill over here, I would cut around the spill. So I would just cut to the edge of the Isomalt, wherever it is. Now at this point, you can torch from this side because you're not actually hitting any cello sheet right now. You're torching from the top of the Isomalt, so the cello sheet is hidden underneath. Once the Isomalt is warm from the torch, you just go back and trim just like you did with the paper. You just don't want to torch from the underneath because then you're going to be torching on the paper itself.
What do you think would happen?
It would burn it. They shrivel a little bit. They can get kind of wrinkled and they can get kind of browned.
Oh.
Yeah, not as much from the Isomalt on them, so you do have a little bit of leeway with that, but if you torch on one of like the actual pieces, it'll just kind of burn, just like paper. Okay, so I'll show you, I didn't do the bottom half of the heel yet, but you see how big of a difference that made and how much shinier and more reflective it is. Just because it looks so much brighter too, because the light can pass through it now. So it's reflecting off those colors, and also it magnetizes because this is domed. It's like a magnifying glass, so it actually makes the pattern appear bigger and brighter. Make sure you get the sides as well. But again, don't hold it in your hand while you do that. All right. And we let that cool, of course, before we use it. All right. So hopefully that answered that question. Let me know if you need any other explaining with that. Okay, we're going to put this off to the side, let it cool. This one, I can kind of test it by flexing the mat, see if it flexes really easily or if I feel any resistance. It still flexes pretty easy, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to pop my clear Isomalt back in because we're going to make our butterfly next. So I'm reheating that. Remember, you can reheat Isomalt as many times as you need to. I'm also just going to wipe up my mat really quick while that's heating to get all these little bits of cello sheet away. Just with a little bit of cleaner. You can rinse it with soap and water, of course, if this is something somebody's going to eat. But mine's just for display.
Bev says she's never held her peace while torching it.
Oh, of course. Never, right? Me neither.
She says, ooh, goldfish platforms. That would be cool.
It would be. Alright, so I can see now this is set up. Super pretty, so we'll keep that at the ready. The other one is still pretty pliable and liquid. That's why I had one pre-made, because it'll take probably half the demo for that to cool down. So that way we can just kind of be getting our other stuff ready. If you guys want to, if you're waiting for your heel, you can be making the butterfly, which I'm going to do next. So if you want to, if you're following along in real time, you are welcome to get your butterfly transfer sheet out and be melting some more of your clear.
How long does the sole take?
The sole's going to take around 20 minutes, so it's really not that bad in the grand scheme of everything. I just wanted to have... Oh, I'm sorry, the sole. The sole is going to take around like 7 minutes or so. Yeah, so it doesn't take very long at all to get it to that in-between. Okay, so I just brought that back to a slight boil. We'll let those bubbles settle. Alright, so yeah, that's why if it takes 20 minutes for the heel and like 10 minutes for the sole would be done and you'd be having to keep it warm while you wait for the heel to cool, and then you got to clean up the heel, so it's better just to have that heel pre-made.
Carol says, never. I don't understand why my gloves aren't burnt. Let me see your fingernails.
Yeah, right? Alright, so we are going to be using our transfer sheet for the actual butterfly that's going to be sitting on the back. And I wanted to go over kind of the differences and when I choose which sheet, because there are different types of sheets that you can use. There's lots of different edible papers, but the three main ones that I usually use are cello sheets, Simi Isomalt transfer sheets, and regular icing sheets, okay, the opaque thick icing sheets that you would just use on a cake. So there's differences of when, and pretty much the main factor for me is going to be the opacity. So the cello sheets, like I said, are completely transparent, so they're perfect for windows, they're perfect for stained glass, anything that you want totally clear. But if they're going to be on a dark surface, you're really not going to see them as much, or if they're going to be on a busy surface. So you see the pattern really well on just something kind of plain, like this sole pat mat, but if it's going to be on something busy, like on the side of a cake or something like that, you really don't see the pattern. It doesn't pop quite as much, okay? So that's when you would want something more opaque. So for this, because nothing's going to be behind it in my, shoe, it's perfect. But if you wanted something slightly more that holds its light better, more opacity is going to reflect the light back at you rather than passing all the way through. So transfer sheets are kind of an in-between. They still have a nice translucency to them. They let light through, which gives them that glassy look, but they're not totally clear, and they're not totally solid like icing sheets. Now, if you're going to have something on a really dark background, or you're going to want something that's really pops and doesn't have a glassy effect, you're going to want to use regular icing sheets, okay? So just depending on what project you're doing and what effect and look that you want, you'll choose what to do. But for this, we're using cello for the heel and transfer for the butterfly, because if I use cello for this, it's not going to pop quite as much because there's two of them, right? Butterflies sit like this, so when you're looking through it, you're seeing both, and it's going to make it too busy. So by having a little bit of opacity, this front wing is really going to stand out, even if there's something busy behind it, such as the other wing in this case. Alright, so to do this, we are going to pour it section by section. Sometimes I like to do half and half, sometimes I like to break it into fourths. Usually, of course, I would make this all into one piece, but for this project, we're not going to be filling over the body. You could, but because I wanted this a little bit more artistically inspired rather than realistic, I'm not going to do the body. I'm just going to attach the wings separated from each other on the shoe. But that also gives you more options. So if you're going to sculpt like a little fairy, or maybe one of those cute little sleeping babies for like a baby shower cake, you can make the wings separate and then attach them to the back of something rather than just look like a big butterfly sitting on the shoe or on the piece. Okay, so we're going to pour in the center, and it does take a little bit of practice to do these. So you may want to even practice by putting the sheet underneath your silicone mat and pouring right on the silicone mat instead. That way you could peel it up and melt it back down if you need to, because you can't melt it once the paper is touching. So I'm going to guide it just to the outside edge of the design with my silicone tool. If you don't have silicone tools, you can use skewers or toothpicks. Just make sure you're only grazing the surface. You're not poking or scratching the paper underneath. And again, if you go over the edge a little bit, it's okay, because you can clean it up by heating and torching, just like I was talking about before with the heel. You can add a little bit more if you need to. You can even scoop some with your tool. As long as the Isomalt's not boiling, piping hot, you can dip the tools right in, and you can spread and drag a little bit more. But again, I'm not covering up the body because I want these separate. Okay, so I've just done half of it. I'm going to very lightly torch. I don't want to warp the plastic underneath or the paper, but I do just want to pop surface bubbles. And then I'll do the same thing. So the more you pour, the more it's going to spread. As long as you don't pour too much, it's not going to go across the boundaries of the design. So I stick to the very center, and I just scoop and kind of push the Isomalt from the middle out to the edges and add more whenever I need to.
So, Mariana says this is amazing. What would you recommend as a starter project for someone who's never used this technique?
Pretty much all of my Playdate projects are made in mind for any skill level. So if you're a beginner, they're really good for beginning. If they are, if you're a little bit more advanced, it's nice because you can elaborate on it even more and add more detail and more different kinds of techniques to the piece. So pretty much anything that catches your eye, I would say go with something you think you're going to use the most. If you are doing this as a business, go with something you think your clients would really like, so that you can kind of start learning on how to market the pieces, or just do something that you really are drawn to. I really like butterflies. I always have liked butterflies, so this is a really fun one because shoes, of course, are a trend that I think will always be popular in cakes, but also butterflies are one of those things as well. But it depends, too, on what kind of techniques you want to learn. If you want to learn casting, pulling, blowing. But for the most part, all of my project kits and my live stream projects that are on my YouTube for free that you can go back and watch, those are all pretty much for any skill level.
I posted the link to simicakes.com, and you can get to her YouTube.
Oh, perfect.
And also, the Torch Team is another good one if you're on through Facebook.
Yes, yeah, we have our Simi Torch Team Facebook group, so if you are new to our lives and our demos and things, we have some really awesome inspiration on there because everybody can post their projects, you can post questions, and get inspired by each other. Because, of course, I love to share my style and my things that I like to make, but I'm not going to make everything, I'm not going to think of every technique, I'm not going to be inclined to do different styles, so it's really nice to have just an amazing, really wide variety of groups of different artists, all contributing using the same mediums. It's so much fun, and everybody is so sweet and supportive too. So Alright, so we're going to put the butterfly to cool. That only takes about 5 minutes because it's so thin, but our heel is going to be ready to come out soon. So, I'm going to release this. I can tell it's still very warm, but it is solid enough that I can release it. Now, it's really not that bendable, but that's okay. I did leave it a little longer than I normally would, but as long as this is still warm, we can reanimate it evenly. If this cools all the way down, it's not going to absorb the heat as evenly, so it's really hard to get it back to pliable, but if it's got some warmth to it, we can do it. All right, I'm going to just torch on the back. So this is the side that was touching the mat. I'm going to torch all over it. That's not only going to melt the bubbles like we did on the surface of the heel, you won't really see it on the bottom of the shoe, but it's also going to add some more heat. Edges as well. We're going to let the heat sink in now. So we're letting the heat sink all the way in, giving it a good 10 to 15 seconds, and we're going to repeat this process, flipping it back and forth from front to back until it becomes pliable and even again.
So Sherry had missed the beginning. The sheets, they're available. She asked if they're available for purchase. And do you print them with an edible printer?
Yes, so we do have my specific designs. So all the designs that we're using today are from our website. They're
Sidney
ones that I
drew
created.
Just about all of them.
Yeah, I drew pretty much all of them, or I use content from other artists that I, purchase for things like that, because I like to support other artists as well. But yeah, these are all custom to our site, so you can't find them anywhere else. You can get them in full sheets. We do have an accessory kit that comes with sample sizes for this specific project, or if you have an edible printer, you can also get blank sheets right from Icing Images of any of these kinds of paper that I'm using, and you can print whatever designs you want on your own.
And that's icingimages.com.
Yeah, they're the ones who produce all of the paper, and they're my absolute favorite edible papers. Alright, so I've done this, like 3 or 4 times now, and I can feel that it's getting a lot more pliable. I can bend it, so it's pretty much there. Now, you will notice that there's a slight curve to the shoe, because of course, shoes are left and right. So if you wanted to do a pair, I would make sure that one is curving one way, and the other one you flip it to curve the other way. But if you want to do a single shoe, I find, even though it's realistic, having it curved can sometimes make it look crooked. So I'm actually going to uncurve it, just by bending it straighter. The edges always cool faster, so I make sure that I'm torching the edges as well, and I'm going to give it maybe 2 more layers of heat before we start to attach it. Alright, so we're going to be using our heel, of course, that we made, and our heel former. Now, this next step is very, very critical, guys. Don't torch on the styrofoam, okay? Don't torch near the styrofoam, because it is flammable, okay? It's going to melt, and you're going to have dents in it. So try not to bring the torch anywhere near the styrofoam, even though I know it happens. I've done it for sure, but try not to.
And you can still use it.
You can still use it, even if there's a little, bite out of it. Alright, now you guys see this ledge right here on the back? That is very important. When you sit your heel, you're not going to sit it to the ground, you're going to sit it on top of that ledge, and that's because the former has a, like a step, right? It's raised from the ground. So you need the back of the heel to be raised from the ground as well when you attach them. Okay? So I kind of have to do this quick. I'm continuing to warm just because I'm talking, so you guys probably won't have to do this as many times. Alright. So getting it nice and pliable, especially in the middle section, because that's where it's going to bend the most.
Carol covered hers in foil.
Oh, that's a great idea, Carol. That's really
says,
smart.
oh, I've never done that either.
Alright, we're going to torch, not while holding, but while setting down. We're going to torch the top of the heel pretty well. We're going to set it in the middle of the back of the former on top of that ledge. We're first going to attach the back of the heel to the back of the sole to the heel. Then we're going to press it down. It's going to squeak a little bit as the Isomalt slides on the foam, and form it. If you're pressing in and you realize, oh no, it's not pliable enough, all you have to do is just take it off, retorch it really quick, even if you have to put it on its side, and then put it back on.
And don't stress about elephant skin.
Yeah, don't stress about wrinkles or elephant skin. The black hides a lot, but we can also get rid of that ourselves afterwards. Now, one thing I want you guys to make sure of is that this heel is straight up and down, because sometimes it likes to tilt a little bit. So go back and just look at it straight on and make sure that it's straight up and down so that it's not going to be wobbly when it's sitting on its own.
And they could do this without the paper the first time.
Absolutely. If you want to just practice making the shoe, you do not have to use the paper one. You can make another one if you already put the paper on, just to have as practice. If you do the shoe, yeah, if you do the shoe all one color, then it doesn't matter if you need to throw the whole thing back in the bowl and redo it. I think an all black glittery shoe would be really pretty anyway. So you can always save it if it comes out how you want it to. All right. And that's it, okay? That's it for forming the heel. It's going to take a little while for it to cool, but you got a really nice shape going. All right. And we're going to put that off to the side. Again, don't worry about wrinkles, don't worry about elephant skin or anything, because we can fix that afterwards if we are going to see it. But we're going to put that off to the side for now to cool while we make our straps. All right, so I'm going to pop back in the black glitter Isomalt. You do want this to be fairly hot and liquid, but again, not boiling when you pour it in the mat. But because we're going to do these really thin little strips for the heels, these cool really quick. So I do want to work on those pretty fast. We're also going to be pouring our back heel as well with our clear. Oh, our clear is actually still liquid enough to do that, so let's do that. I'm going to take the other piece of my cello sheet, peel it off of the backing first. These do not peel off the backing easily if you pour the Isomalt first. So like we do with the transfer sheets, where we take the backing off after the Isomalt's on, if you do that with cello sheets, it really doesn't come off nicely, so I like to peel it off the backing first. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to do the half crescent for the back of the heel, because I like that look. It kind of just continues the stained glass effect, plus it'll give somewhere for our butterfly to sit. For the more intricate areas, if you need to spread the Isomalt into the points or the kind of corners, you can use your toothpick or your silicone tool. Remember to torch away those bubbles, not near the styrofoam. And again, just lay this on. And you can do it anywhere that you like, anywhere on the pattern. And then I just use a tool or something on top. Let's use a clean one so it doesn't stick, to make sure it's stuck out to all of the edges. The cello sheets are pretty strong, so if you need to like push them or move them or anything, you can. But I just want to make sure it's getting all the way out to the edges. If you notice that there's like, especially with really big pieces, if it wrinkles up a little bit and gets kind of wavy, what I do is I wait like halfway through the cooling process of however long that is for each piece, and I take my fondant smoother and I actually just iron it. I kind of smooth it down and it flattens it out. If you do it now, it's so pliable that it'll just wrinkle again, and if you do it too late, of course, they're not going to flatten, so it's kind of an in-between. It's the same thing I do with my cookies when I want to flatten them right out of the oven. I'll just take my fondant smoother and just smooth them over. Alright, so we'll let that cool a little while. Again, we need to bend it to the back of the heel, so we're not going to leave it too long, but we will leave it for a little while we make these straps and get our other butterfly ready. Okay. These, you kind of have to hold your breath to do them, and it may take a few practice tries. It's okay if they overflow or don't come out how you want the first time. Whew. But I'm going to make both of these just to have extras. You can do all of these pieces one at a time if you want to. You don't have to pour them all at once if you want to just focus on one, if you're kind of worried about them cooling too much or forgetting about them. You can do them one at a time. You don't have to pour each section all at once. I didn't worry about getting it all the way to the edges because I know that I'm going to be cutting these down anyway for this specific strap. And that's just because I've done this design before for that first shoe, so you guys will kind of figure it out as you go. But if you want to do the top part, if you want to do the straps like this, if you want to crisscross them, you guys can get creative with your shoes. That's why we have so many straps on here, so you can kind of customize it to what you want to do. Alright, everybody doing okay so far? Any questions?
I think I get a few questions when they're making them.
For sure, yeah. If you guys have any questions, you can always message me later. I'm always around. Okay, so we got our form, we got our shoe, we got our straps. Perfect. So let's go ahead and unmold the butterfly wings. So when they're cool, make sure you don't taste test it. Make sure you don't cool test it with your finger, just in case it was warm. Use a toothpick or a tool to just tap on the pieces. Same goes for all of these to see when they're ready to come off. Okay, so you see how the plastic backing peels away cleanly, and there's no trimming or anything with the transfer sheets, which is really nice. Okay, you may just have to brush off a little bit of the excess paper, which I usually do kind of with a paintbrush over the trash or over my extra paper pieces. Okay, I have a little bit of a rough edge on this wing, Totally did that on purpose, so I can show you guys how to fix it. You can kind of see that there's like a little bumpiness. All we're gonna do is just torch over that. A lot of times torching is enough to smooth things over on its own, but you can also wait about 5 or 10 seconds and use a flat edge. So you can use a spatula, you can use something metal, something silicone, even pressing it into the flat of the silicone mat, and you can kind of retweak those edges if you need to. Alright, so we have our 2 halves of our butterfly wings. Sometimes what I'll do, just to make these a little more finished off, you can do this after it's on the shoe or while it's on the shoe, or before you put it on the shoe, but I'll take a little bit of black gel color. I mix my Artisan Accents black gel color with a little bit of dilution solution to make it more paintable, and I'll just do a really like thin border around the edges of the wings, and that just kind of creates more of a finished edge, especially if like this one I had a little bit of overflow. Instead of worrying about that, I would just paint it black over it and it'll look like part of the wing. So instead of like painstakingly trying to fix it and smooth it, I just cover it up with some black paint, and you won't even be able to notice. Alright, you might know it's there, but as we know, we're our own worst critics, so usually nobody else is going to notice every little detail that we do. Okay, so we'll put those off to the side. I'm going to check on these straps because they really do cool fast, so not quite there. I can show you taking out the heel in the meantime because I think this one is pretty much ready to come out. These like to trick you, okay? They're really deep in there, and there's a lot of silicone insulating the heat. Sometimes they feel solid when you go to like press on them with the tool or with your finger since the paper is there, but when you take it out, they slump. Don't be afraid to put it back in the mold if you need to, or just put it under your fan, like set it flat and then put your fan on it for a couple minutes if it accidentally was too warm. But to take these out, it can be a little scary. But what I'm going to do is just flex it like an ice cube tray, just kind of a little bit all the way around. Some of the paper might come off on its own, which is fine. I like to kind of get my finger under the point, the bottom of the heel, and pull it out that way, because the deepest area is going to be the hardest to get out. See? So that's all I did before, is I just pulled it out and then I cleaned it up, just like I showed you guys in the beginning. So just trim the paper off and then torch away the bubbles. Okay. We're going to check on our shoe, make sure it's sitting up on its own. That looks good. If you want to get rid of any of these little wrinkles in the top, what you can do is take it off the former. You want to really lightly just torch, and it may take multiple layers of light heating rather than too much all at once, because then it could go back to pliable and it could lose its shape. But after I do that, I put it back on the former just to make sure it's maintaining its shape in case it did get a little too warm. But that just smooths it out and makes it nice and sleek.
But it needs to be cool?
Yeah, it needs to be cool, because if you do that while it's already warm, it's going to like absorb all that heat, and it could make it pliable again.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, this piece on the back is not quite ready, but these are. So we're going to take them out. These are a little bit warmer than I did for the sole, which is nice, because they're going to be easier to reanimate. Okay, so I'm torching the underneath, just like I did before. The top strap, all I'm going to do is just form a circle. So it's kind of like an ankle strap. The ends tend to cool more, so I can't really get them to round on their own. So what I do is I just focus on the rest of it, rewarm those ends, and then after about 10 seconds, remember to use your gloves for this just because it can get really, really hot. Alright, and I'm just forming that circle, just like that. You could put another decoration over that joint mark if you wanted to, but I don't really find that it's that distracting. Regular straps have, you know, places where they end and fold and things too. Alright, and then this other piece, I'm going to heat up again. We're going to put the strap over the front. So you kind of get to be like a shoe designer today. You can look up inspiration pieces if you want to for different kinds of shoes. I'm just going to kind of get an idea of like how big my foot would be. Like I'm just thinking about how much my toes would stick out. I'm cutting that with scissors because it is pliable. Okay, so I just made like a little rainbow shape, a little arch. You don't want to torch on the foam, so we're going to let this cool off to the side once I get it in the shape and in the place that I need it. I put it about halfway in between this flat section here, so about halfway in the middle. Let that cool for a second, and then we're going to torch to stick that on. Okay, the cello sheet should be ready to attach on as well. Let's just torch a little bit. This is very light and it's also still a little warm, so I don't have to worry about torching on this piece as well. Okay, so there's our top strap. Make sure it doesn't move on you. If you want to use your little fan to help cool it into place, you can. Now we're going to add our back heel piece. This is probably my favorite element of the shoe, just because I think it's really pretty and just finishes the top off nicely. So just trimming that cello off. Now, because there's cello on the back of this piece, you cannot flip it over and torch like we did with the sole, right? So we're going to rely more so on taking it out early enough, but also on just multiple layers of heat from the top. So you don't want to burn the surface, which is why it's important to just do light layers and then wait, and then another layer and wait rather than all at once. But what's happening is that heat is sinking down, and eventually, by just adding more and more heat, it's going to sink all the way to the underneath. I did unmold it when it was pretty warm, so we may be at that point already. Let's just give it one more little zap. Right. I'm going to take it off the foam to heat the sides of the back of the heel, but I'm going to put it back on to attach it. I put the paper to the inside, that's just me, and I wrap it around the outside, so I kind of center it. It's not sitting on top, it's wrapping around the outside of the sole, but you could do either. I just think it looks a little cleaner if you're wrapping it and covering up the seam between the heel and the sole. Okay, again, if you get any stretch marks or warping, just wait for it to cool and you can torch them away. See that? Beautiful. Make sure it's all straight. Cool that a little bit more. And then we will add our final decorations. Now, if you feel like those edges are a little rough as well, like the edge on the heel, you can definitely paint over that if you want to with some of the black, just like I said I sometimes do with the butterflies. I didn't do that just because the Isomalt not only is absorbing light through the sides, it's absorbing light in the top edges, like going through the top, so it may darken the whole piece if you constrict some of that darkness here. So I'm just going to leave mine because I don't think it's too rough of an edge, especially once we cover up a lot of the top edge with this strap. Alright, and then we are going to set our top ankle strap on. I do it on top of the piece because sticking it to the inside where the cello sheet is isn't quite as good of a bond as sticking Isomalt to Isomalt. I know I'm breaking my rule and torching on the foam, but that piece is very far away from the foam, so just be careful. I'm going to use my fan here so I don't have to sit here and hold it too long, but remember to torch both pieces for this to get them really warm. Warm sticks to warm better than warm sticks to cool. So I'm just going to make sure this is level too. At first it's going to be wobbly, so I don't really stress myself out about keeping it level at first, but just in those last final moments of cooling when it still has a little give, that's when I kind of crouch down and make sure that it's at the right spot. And we'll just let that cool on there before we add our last touch of the butterflies. Okay. Good. Alright.
Everybody says, wow, beautiful.
Thank you.
Make it look so easy.
I have made this shoe approximately 200 times, okay? I've made it over and over at demos at our booth. I've taught in-person classes on this. I've made them for myself, for displays. So it really just does take practice. It's okay if your first one comes out a little funky. There's lots of different kinds of shoes. Sometimes they're more quirky, sometimes they're more perfect. But remember, if you want to do this all in one color first, you can just throw everything back in the bowl and remelt it and do it again. It's only when the paper's on it that you can't remelt those pieces, but if it's just Isomalt, there's no limit to how many times you can melt them.
Maite says that she'll melt everything down.
Yeah, there's really no harm to melting things down. That's the best part. And then I'm going to attach the wings. I do separate them a little bit from each other, but not too much. And I'm going to put them kind of half on the strap and half on the sole, or the, like the heel strap. The little half circle piece with the stained glass pattern. I want to do these pretty close together because I don't want to accidentally retorch one of them, the one that was already attached, because then you could make everything move around. So I separate them maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, but not a ton. You still want it to look like a butterfly landing.
I missed Kelly's question. She had asked how long do they last if they're for display. But, you know, you guys are so good. You're all answering for us.
Oh, thank you guys.
PME clear glaze spray.
Yep, I will spray this piece when I'm done with a clear edible glaze. I like the PME. And that will lock out any moisture and humidity and keep your pieces nice and shiny. If you want to give them a little extra boost of longer, especially in the summertime now, where it's generally more humid, you can keep them also in a sealed container, like a Ziploc, on top of glazing. So I glaze, let it dry, and then keep it sealed. But even keeping it out here at room temperature, as long as it doesn't get too hot, I've had pieces out on my shelf for months, even for years with the glaze, and they still stay pretty nice. But I generally say Isomalt looks the best within the first week of its life, and then after that it just depends on your humidity level and how much you're taking care of it. So I'm also making sure that that strap that we hovered, that ankle strap, is not falling down, because remember we just added more heat to it from the butterfly. Alright. So we'll give this one more second to cool, and I'll take it off the former to show you guys our finished product. And remember, this is so customizable. You could do more of like a blue morpho butterfly, which I love blue morpho butterflies, that classic like super bright cobalt blue. You could do yellow butterflies. You can do anything that you want. You can even do other patterns. You can switch it up and do like a cheetah print pattern or a zebra print, or you know, whatever you want. You could do like a floral pattern. You can attach molded pieces onto these. You can hand pull and sculpt pieces, or even use other mediums. If you're into piping, if you're into modeling chocolate or fondant or gum paste flowers, you can add those on. There's just so many ways you can customize these shoes.
Kathy said she used the PME glaze, but her project stayed sticky. What did she do wrong?
You have to glaze it right away, so that is one thing that sometimes I get questions about. I don't know if that was your situation or not, but if you don't glaze it right away and the moisture already starts it getting sticky, it will stay sticky. The glaze isn't really going to help. It's just going to lock in the moisture in that case. So you have to glaze it before it gets sticky. So if you are working on a piece for a long time, keep the pieces in a sealed container. Okay, keep it in a plastic bag or something like that, even with the little desiccant packs that come in vitamins to keep the moisture out, and then glaze it all when it's done. But if you don't glaze it right away, it's going to already get the moisture in. So try and do it as fast as possible. Sometimes I even do multiple coats of glaze.
But you got to let them dry in between, because you can dry moist, or you could seal
in moisture. Yeah, so let the coats dry completely in between. Otherwise, you're just sealing in more and more moisture. It's kind of like you know, sealing over wet paint, basically. All right. But you can work on things over time. It's not that you can't. You just need to keep them in a sealed container and away from moisture.
Kathy does believe that's what she might have done.
Okay, well, hopefully that'll help with your next piece then. Alright, so I love this shoe because it stands on its own, but of course you can make a little base or something to mount it on. But here is our finished butterfly shoe. So we got the really pretty stained glass monarch heel back there. We got our butterfly wings, and of course that black glitter. This would be very easily turned into a Halloween shoe. I know we have lots and lots of Halloween fans here. So if you wanted to add some skulls and crossbones, you wanted to add some spider webs. I think even like a big spider web on the sole would be really pretty, kind of reaching across it.
Bev says she's going to do monster teeth heels.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Bev. Love it, love it.
Kelly would like to know if you travel to different cities and teach classes like this.
I do, yes. Of course, traveling has not been as easy the last couple of years, but I do teach at some shows and some places. My whole schedule is on my website for anything that we have currently, but for right now, I'm mostly just doing online. And we also have our Simi retreat coming up as well. If you are in an accessible area towards Florida, we're having our Simi retreat, which is in January, so we'll have some hands-on classes there. But we also have a Zoom class as well, so I do a monthly Zoom class where we can actually be face-to-face working along with each other. So that can be a nice alternative if you can't travel to a class. Brooke's already ready for the new color. Okay, guys. Let me tilt it back up here. Alright, I have both the new color as well as the projects we're going to use it for, some of them, for next month to show you. Alright, first off, just to keep you in suspense a little longer, let me just show you this upright so you can see it at a little bit better angle. There's from the back, and again, you see how it looks clear from the side, which I think is so neat. And then we have that black glitter. Alright. Here we go. So I'm going to set that down gently. Alright, so let's talk about some upcoming events that are happening. First off, I was just talking about the Zoom classes. Of course, we do have our next Zoom, which this one is a two-part. So we're actually doing a live class on this Thursday and then a live class on Sunday. Thursday is going to be making the bottle, and then Sunday is going to be making our octopus friend. You can see it's very big. It weighs about 3 pounds. It's solid Isomalt, so this is going to be our next Zoom project. But I also do a pre-recorded version of all the tutorials, so you can go back and get them. And you can also, if you can't make the live class that month, you can just do it on your own time as well. But that's our August class. I absolutely love him. I didn't give him a name. But I just think that he's so quirky, and I love just the life that octopus have, octopi. They just have such cool personalities, so really excited about that. There is still spots open for that if you're interested. And now let's move on to our new announcements. So you guys I've been teasing you of what our new color is going to be. And also the projects that we're going to do with it, I'm going to show you as well. But let's start with the new color so you guys can see that. There was a lot of guesses. A couple of people got it right, which I was very impressed with. But, drum roll please, it is this stunning amber color. This is a beautiful, beautiful color. The camera does not do it justice to what it looks like in person, but you can see it's this really pretty sort of like a burnt orange yellow, perfect for fall and autumn. It's a really nice sort of pumpkin color. It would also work really well for honey. A lot of people, you know, bees are very, very popular and kind of bee themes for like gender reveals and parties and things like that. So it would be perfect for honey. It also works nice for like an amber beer. So if you wanted to do something like that, Oktoberfest is coming up. So really, really nice. The cool thing about this color, it's hard to tell because the lights are coming this way and not this way from behind it. It actually looks different, the different thicknesses you pour it. So if you pour it really thin, it's like a beautiful sort of toasted yellow. But if you pour it really thick, it looks like a really pretty sort of like orangey brown. And I have lots and lots of pieces coming up to show you guys the differences and how we're going to use this for different stuff. So yeah, this is going to be our new color. Alex developed this. He's been having so much fun with developing new colors. I know a lot of people were guessing that it was going to be an orange glitter because we just came out with our glitter colors for the summer. I think if we made him do another glitter color, he would probably not be very happy with us because glitter, of course, as you guys know, gets everywhere. So he was excited to make a more transparent version for this fall. And we do have our glitter colors still available, but remember the pink and the blue are going to be going away on Labor Day, so just a couple of weeks. I believe the first week in September, right?
But don't tell Alex, we're going to keep the black
Yeah,
glitter.
don't tell him, but we're going to keep the black because we just have to have it for Halloween. That's all there is to it, and for New Year's. So we're going to keep the black glitter going, and of course our new jade that he came up with is beautiful too. Those two are permanent, and this one is permanent as well. But those pink and hot pink and blue glitter, those are going to be limited edition. So we're only bringing them out for limited times. So yeah, that's the amber.
And I think he has a couple more in mind.
He does, yeah. He's already planning some like wintry colors and things like that. But yeah, I love the black glitter too, Ash. I think it's definitely my favorite of the new colors. But this amber is really rivaling it the more that I've used it. So
and
yeah.
Ash says maple syrup too.
Oh, maple syrup. That would be so perfect because people use it for like waffles and stuff with the bottle pouring. I think Mitchie just did a really cool chicken and waffles cake that she used it for. Pancakes cake, or cookies. I've seen a lot of pancake cookies too. Okay. You guys are going to have to make all these ideas, and we're going to have to just post them all on the Torch team because I can't wait to see every one of them. But I don't know about you guys, but one of the first things when I thought of amber is going to be Jurassic Park. Of course, the mosquito in the amber. So we are going to be doing that for our next play date. I have a couple pieces to show you that I made. Okay. It has been exceptionally humid here the last couple of days, so I'm just going to give these a torch again so you can really see how shiny they are because I forgot to seal them. Oops. But these are the pieces that we are going to be making. Let's see if I can show that on a white background, maybe against my face. These are the pieces that we're going to be making for our next Playdate. So I actually turned the lollipop that we did here with, if you can see, oh, there you go. See the mosquito encased inside that? I actually turned the staff, or the walking stick, that Dr. Hammond from Jurassic Park carries. I turned that into a lollipop. So we're going to be making this. I'm going to show you, I created this new technique of encasing cello sheets into spheres. It is a skeleton lollipop. So imagine all the things you could put on the end of this, not just mosquitoes, but, you know, skulls and things like that. But do you see how it's actually encased 3D in the sphere? Okay, so this was my original idea with this amber. I also have some flat lollipops here with the mosquitoes in them as well that I really, really liked. So you can see this is the same color. Do you see how light this is and then how dark this one is? I just love that, because if you pour a piece that has lots of different thicknesses, it has so many different like depths of color, you know, and our normal colors do that too, but I feel like it just pops so well with this amber color. So that's going to be the main thing that we're creating with the next live that I'm going to be doing, and it's a live just like this. You can see I created some new cello sheet designs to go with this, because I know that not everybody is as into dinosaurs as I am. I actually love dinosaurs, so I really love all the Jurassic Park movies and things like that, but I really wanted to make some other creepy crawlies too. So we also have an option, instead of all mosquitoes on the cello sheet, you can get one that also has scorpions and spiders, because I love those like lollipops where they encase real scorpions and things like that, but I don't always want to eat them. So I thought it'd be fun to do a sweet version of that, to have spiders and scorpions as well. So you can choose if you want to get the accessory kit or the sheets by themselves, which version you want to do. But of course, you guys know I like to play around with different ideas as much as you guys do. So as soon as I made this, I thought, this is a really cool design. Me and Mom were talking about it. But what if we changed this to a holiday theme and made snow globes? So the other part, even though I know it's September and it's leading into Halloween, the other part of that demo is I'm going to show you how I converted it into making snow globes. So check these out. Which one should I show them first? This one? I don't know which one to show. Maybe
This
one? Okay. Okay. So let me grab these. I'm just going to give it a torch so it's extra shiny. All right. Ta-da! Look how cute these little snow globe lollipops are. I added a little base to it. A witch's crystal ball would be so cool too, Bev. So yeah, we have our cute little snow globe. I have so many different ones, guys. I also made these flat ones too. So we have an alternate version if you don't want something that big. Okay, this is using our clear glitter. We also have, I just got endless things over here, guys. I made another version over here too, I'll show you. And these are all patterns that are new as well, so you can get these too. Okay, that one I put some glitter in the front of with some little birds on like a pretty fence in the snow. This one's a birdhouse with some cardinals. Okay. And to top it all off, I just had to make a big one too. So, hang on guys, I'm grabbing them out here. Those are going to be with our Shaker Maker Lollipop mold and our small sphere that we have. I know a lot of you guys have that, and I really love that one. But we also have a medium and a large sphere, as you guys know, too. So I just decided to make some full-size ones. So these are our little gnome patterns. The other one were a little bit more like elegant wintry, but I just couldn't resist but doing some gnomes. So we have some Christmas gnomes holding some Christmas decorations. These are all Isomalt, and the base are mixed media, but the globe is all Isomalt, and I'm so excited to show you guys how I did this. So I'm going to be showing you in that demo kind of how to do all the different ones. We're going to focus, because it is going into Halloween, on doing the amber one, but I'll show you how I varied it to the different techniques, and I'm sure we're going to think of lots of different ones by then of how to, you know, change up the design. And I'm really excited to show you that. It's a totally new technique. I've never taught it before, of how to encase that design into the Isomalt. So I hope that you guys like that, and remember to check it out.
September 10th?
10th, yeah, the 10th is the live that we're going to be doing on September 10th, which is a Saturday at 2 p.m., so just like today. And we also have the new designs too. So we have the cello sheet here, which is the gnomes, and we have the solo sheet. You can get them on any kinds of sheets, but I think the solo sheets really, really look nice. So what I did, because you guys are going to see a lot of different options on the sheets, what I did is I made a version, because I'm kind of crazy, for each size of sphere that we have. So no matter if you're getting the kit or if you're getting, if you already have some of our sphere molds, I made a version of both of the Christmas prints in the small sphere, medium sphere, large sphere, and the shaker lollipop, because they're all different sizes, of course, or there's an assortment sheet. So if you want some of each, if you have, different ones. But we also have the kits. So the kits are discounted. All of my kits, we discount. So if you want to get all the supplies for this specific project, I did a amber bug lollipop kit, so you can do the spooky version, or if you're not as into bugs, you can also watch the live and play along with me to create the ornament or the snow globes. So depending on which one you want to do, or if you want to make everything, we have the kits and we have everything individually as well.
20% off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the kits are 20% off the when we put it all together. So you do get a pretty good deal there off of the individual stuff. But if you already have some of the molds and stuff, we have the new color and the sheets listed as well. And if you have any questions, if you're confused about sizes or anything like that, just send me a message and I'll help you guys. Alright, yay, I'm so glad that you guys are liking those. I'm going to post close-up pictures of them after this, so you guys can see actually what they look like up close, because they're really, really cool, and how that we're going to encase them. So I'll post pictures, and I'll post some videos and pictures of the new amber in different lights too, so that you can see it in different, with different thicknesses and things like that.
And we want to see your shoes.
Yeah, we want to see your shoes, so I know a lot of you guys are going to make it later. Some people were making it today. Please make sure to tag me in pictures or post it in the Torch team so that we can see it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I am working on our next workshop project as well, because we have our workshop coming up, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. So make sure that you stay tuned for that, because I usually have that come out right after our class of the month. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Is there anything
and please
else?
Go and check out the GoFundMe for Scott Ewing.
Yes.
For Nicholas Lodge Legacy.
Yes, definitely make sure to check that out. To please contribute if you can. It's for Scott Ewing to keep the Nicholas Lodge Legacy going. We are very, very appreciative, as is Scott, for everybody who's supported that so far. And I have that link on my website or on my Facebook page. So if you need it, it is there.
He's always supported us in the industry and everyone.
Yes, absolutely. All right, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Grandma Barbara says she feels kits are in her future.
Oh yes, they absolutely are. Yeah, Grandma Barbara is the one who is mostly putting together all the kits and everything. So, all right, we appreciate her very much. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this tutorial. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this. It was super nice just kind of getting to talk to everybody and see everybody. We appreciate all of your love and support so much. And yes.
Becky would like you to hold up the octopus again.
Yes, absolutely. I can hold up the octopus again.
And Carol suggests shop at nicholaslodge.com.
Absolutely, please.
And to help support Scott there as well.
Please, please do. All right. Fantastic. So I will see you guys in my next live. For those of you attending the Zoom class, remember the first one is on Thursday night to make the bottle, and then on Sunday is going to be part 2 of making the octopus. So I hope that I will see you guys there. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend. Thank you so, so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.